Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, hopefully you'll hit the follow button. Um, I did want to jump in, or back into, I should say, this ongoing feud between like Mark Levin, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, some of the clips that have come out on X.
Donald Trump is operating in this country despite the constant efforts under Operation Sabotage by a Democrat Party that is hell-bent on losing this war, that is hell-bent on undermining the commander-in-chief, that is hell-bent on undermining our armed forces, and yes, is giving aid and comfort, propaganda to the enemy, as are individuals who I call the woke right neo-fascists, who are stirring the anti-Semitism pot, who are stirring the trash Christian pot. They are no different than the same voices we heard in the 1930s, and just as disgusting, evil, and reprehensible. All this talk about this war wasn't imminent. Why did we decide now? All this talk about what is the mission. All of this is used to try and obstruct, undermine, dispirit, and divide this nation. At a time when Donald Trump is doing what great presidents do. Shame on you, Democrats, for what you are doing to this country. You will be remembered forever. You will be remembered as the isolationists of the 1930s. Shame on you, woke right neo-fascists. You will be remembered as the unpatriotic, anti-American Jew haters that you are. I ask you, what do you think Jefferson and Madison would do in these circumstances today? What do you think Franklin Roosevelt would do in these circumstances today? Or Abraham Lincoln, or George Washington, or even Ronald Reagan when they didn't have nuclear weapons in Iran? What do you think they would do? They would take action.
Okay. So, okay. So, basically, anybody that is not cool with going to war with Iran is, what do you call it? A right-wing neo-fascist or a leftist. So you can see the comments, just love it. You're an anti-Semite if you don't get in the box. Get in the box, right? Mark Levin called Trump the first Jewish president, and Trump answered, "It's true." Remember that. He said, "It's true, it's true." Okay.
Donald Trump is operating
Oh,
in the tradition.
don't want to listen to that again. So, Candace, I wanted to watch. We're not watching this whole thing, but I wanted to see what she had to say about it. I've not watched Candace in a while.
So he decides to pick this fight for no reason at all with Megyn. Well, there's a reason. There's always the same reason with Megyn Kelly. And he calls both Megyn Kelly and Piers Morgan. He calls Megyn a coward and Piers Morgan a clickbait whore or something. And what is their crime? Like I said, the same crime that everyone commits, not groveling for Israel. That's it. He has some sort of a unique social disorder where he genuinely believes that if you disagree with him, you are an enemy that must be destroyed. Ben cannot survive knowing that there are people in the world that simply disagree with him. He does not know how to just go, oh.
Okay, so she's talking about Ben Shapiro right here, clearly.
I have a different opinion, but we can still maintain a friendship. So he begins this back forth and he drops this online. Like I said, Megyn is a coward. Piers Morgan is a click whore. None of that has anything to do with Israel or the Jews. Okay, Ben, the Mossad hasn't been in the United States since like the 1980s. Okay, we get it. Anyway, Megyn responds to him and basically calls him out on his BS. She writes, "Poor little Ben," and I do mean little, desperate for me to protect him. Can you imagine being this emasculated? It's sad. Why have they been stalking and harassing Megyn Kelly? Nobody knows. Megyn Kelly is a perfect example of someone that Zionists could have won the support of. She's been clear that she supports Israel. She supports Erica Kirk, Turning Point USA, but they can't do it. It's so all or nothing that they just demand 100% groveling, or they just push you out and then stalk you and gang stalk you and harass you. So Ben just has to mention me, allude to me in his response to her. And again, he's going to white knight for Charlie Kirk here. And he says, "Don't worry, Megyn. I would never ask you to protect me. You won't even protect Charlie Kirk's widow from the monster accusing her of murdering Charlie. So I had time. I had time this weekend. I had a lot of time of fools. We cannot go on like this in humanity. And it was just time to start sharing private conversations with Charlie, to know how Charlie actually felt about Ben and neocons more generally in his own words, okay? Charlie could not stand Ben Shapiro. I have been telling you that because Ben operated behind the scenes to try to stop his rise. The same way he's treating Megyn Kelly, that is how he treated Charlie Kirk. It's how he treated me. He's just a nasty person who cannot stand when people become more popular than him or when their position becomes more popular than his. If they're organically winning, he has to try to pervert the markets. He makes phone calls. He asks his fellow Jewish journalists to do hit pieces. Charlie lived this. I was there. It was driven by nothing more than jealousy. Charlie was so young, he was still jealous. And so Milo Yiannopoulos shared this back and forth. He wrote, Ben Shapiro began to secretly commission hit jobs. On Turning Point USA a decade ago, Charlie Kirk knew. We met and we talked about it and discussed strategy. Kirk and I weren't friends for long, but while we were, all he talked about was how amazing Candace was and how effing evil Ben is. And he showed the messages, okay? Milo says, this is Ben. It's his fingerprints all over it. Can I post it? Charlie says yes, but I want to allow this to play out before I say something, but go ahead. Could use your advice on this, honestly. And he's asking Milo for advice on how to deal with Ben because he was, again, commissioning people, like he says, to go after him. I was there. This is the true story, okay? And it is, therefore, the worst kept secret in American politics that Charlie Kirk did not like Ben Shapiro. It's a fact. So I shared more private messages so that people can understand how deranged it is that Ben is so shameless that he showed up to Charlie's funeral, $1 million, and elects himself the great defender of his legacy. I'm going to defend Charlie Kirk. And in the name of Charlie Kirk, I'm now going to attack his friends. I'm going to attack his friends over the topic of Israel, a topic which Charlie had actually changed his mind on. That's the reality, point blank. And here's what I shared. I shared Charlie backing me up when Ben treated me publicly like crap, saying, stand for truth. The people are with you. Thank you, Charlie. I will, and I will continue to do that because the people are on the side of truth. And I said, I know. I've been through it enough with enough of these to know that truth always wins in the end. And he then laughs and wrote BTW. He was standing on a couch and I wrote, haha, so good. And Charlie said regarding Ben, he is unhinged. Stay the course. This is how he constantly spoke about Ben. Like I said, I have about 300 messages between me and Charlie to that effect. Okay. And we spoke deeper also on theology guiding Ben Shapiro. I hate to upset the Shabbat Shalom crowd, but Charlie also was aware of the verses in the Talmud and its vitriol, its inherent vitriol toward Christianity. If you don't serve them, then it's problematic. And here is what Charlie said regarding the Talmud. He writes, there are some verses in the Talmud that will blow your mind. I said, I'm aware of them. He wrote, the Talmud is not biblical, but it is their rabbinical interpretations of Judaism. And then I did a deep dive one week and he wrote thought crime. And I said, yep, this is the real Charlie Kirk that they are now trying to package to us as like a faithful Talmudic Jew who was friends with Ben Shapiro. Do you understand now how sickening it has been for me to have to sit back and watch Turning Point USA allow rats onto their ship, the ship that Charlie built, to effectively reverse course regarding what Charlie actually felt, what Charlie actually believed, and who his friends actually were? A reversal made infinitely more evil by the fact that his wife is at the helm of the company. She could stop that. Podcaster Brett Weinstein then waded into the fray, which was amazing. He was apparently in conversation with Charlie Kirk in June, before he died, back when Charlie went toe-to-toe with Bibi Netanyahu and won. Toe-to-toe with Bibi Netanyahu and the bandit of neocon criminals over war in Iran, telling Trump not to do it. And here is what Charlie shared with Brett about what he was doing at the White House. Brett opens this up by saying, on June 18th, I had a text exchange with Charlie Kirk. He said he was spending 2 full days at the White House trying to persuade President Trump not to initiate a war with Iran. Given that Charlie was close with the president and that he represented a large constituency essential to Trump, and given that many proponents of the war with Iran saw a U.S. attack as urgently necessary to the survival of Israel, it is reasonable to wonder if his refusal to back down from his steadfast opposition somehow resulted in his murder. A good investigation could have settled the matter. What we got only increases the reason for concern. Asking this question may be unforgivable, but it is in no way unreasonable. Charlie was in a strong position to keep us from doing what we have done now, and the timing of his death removed him from the equation and likely changed the course of history, as Charlie himself worried that it might. He then shares this back and forth communication. Mind you, these people are telling you Charlie would have supported the Iranian war. And he's responding to something that Brett tweeted, which was supporting Charlie and saying, keep the pressure on. And he writes, right there with you, Charlie, we have to shut these maniacs down. Not only is the Republic depending on it, but the citizens of Israel are too. And Charlie said, thank you, I totally agree. Brett said, and by the way, I think the president needs us to keep the pressure on the neocon Israeli regime. Charlie responds and says, I know, we need to do better. I have a theory on this, which is the power of the dissident media is very good retroactively at uncovering injustice or scandal, like COVID, Ukraine border. We are not good at driving real-time mass public opinion yet. The neocons are. I'm doing all I can. Truly, I was in the White House all day fighting for America. Same tomorrow. Okay? These were Charlie's perspectives regarding the Iranian war. That is how Charlie felt about neocons. He felt like they were maniacs. He's reiterated 1,000 times. He would have the idea of people like Mark Levin and the McCains and the Shapiro coming out and pretending like they represent who he was should sicken you. Okay. This is his honest opinion about what he thought about the likes of the Levins and the Shapiros. It's just a fact. Like I said, none of this can be disputed. But don't worry, because then what happens, because they're just getting pummeled with Charlie's own words online, is that our resident turncoat Blake Neff is going to pop in, and then he tries to smooth things over for neocons, who are getting, like I said, revealed by Charlie's own words. And basically what Blake does is he tweets a lot of words to admit that I'm telling the truth, that Charlie did not like Ben. Here is what he has to say. Blake writes, since some silly claims are being made right now, no, Charlie Kirk did not, hate, operative word being hate Ben Shapiro. Charlie and Ben deferred about the best direction for the conservative movement. Ben supported Ron DeSantis in the 2024 primary, while Charlie was all in for Trump from the start. J.D. Vance was one of Charlie's favorite politicians, while Ben had been critical of him. Charlie saw Ben as a rival. They both had high-profile shows in major conservative organizations, and Charlie wanted his to be bigger. I'm sorry, I just have to stop reading because it makes me so angry. It is such an objective lie. Blake was not even around for the building of Turning Point. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Blake, shut up. Take this tweet down because it makes me angry. Actually, I just got mad. Okay, he's a liar. Blake, you are a liar, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You were not there when Charlie built this company. They were not rivals. They actually had nothing in the beginning that would have made them rivals. Charlie was building a 501c3 charity, okay? He wanted to be on college campus. That is not what Ben Shapiro was doing. Ben Shapiro was trying to take Andrew Breitbart's legacy and recreate it by manufacturing a scandal with the Daily Wire. They should have been natural allies. But then Ben had to be Ben. He got jealous as Charlie got bigger, and he went behind the scenes with his connections to the donors and started squeezing Charlie and trying to control who he could speak to. You're a liar, Blake. Why do you keep lying? At least you admit that there are rivals, that they were rivals, but the idea that rivalry came because they were both in the same industry or in the same space is factually untrue. It is factually untrue. Charlie was innately not a jealous person whatsoever. Okay, he liked to share, he liked to build, he liked to bring people into the fold. It's not possible to do this with somebody as petty and as short as Ben Shapiro. It's impossible. It literally is impossible. Anyway, the point being is at least he finally let the words out of his mouth that when Charlie died, they were rivals. Okay, that's a confession. And I want you to pause and truly appreciate how disgusting it is that they're willing to say that now, but they didn't care after Charlie died. Okay. Like I said, it wasn't because they held a similar space. It was because of what Ben did to Charlie. Putting pressure on the money, financial threats, controlling like he always does with the money. Don't let this person speak here. Don't let this person speak with them. I'm going to have donors. I know donors. My daddy has money. make financial threats. Oh, the Jewish donor is going to now take away money if this person speaks. That's how he plays the game. But think about it. On the Turning Point USA side, think about the fact that they allowed Charlie's rival to open Amfest by dissing Charlie's friends, all because of the almighty dollar. What does that say about the ethics that are guiding that company right now? Another thing to note is that Ben Shapiro has a very particular kink, if you haven't caught on now, which was on display on that AmFest stage, actually. He's really into public humiliation rituals. He doesn't just want to disagree with his friends in private. He wants to try to destroy them behind the scenes, but he also insists on surprising his friends on camera and putting them on the spot and demanding their allegiance to his viewpoints. Like, he literally fancies himself on an episode of To Catch a Predator, but doesn't realize that he is the predator. Like, you just keep catching yourself being an immoral piece of shit. That's what he initially did to Megyn Kelly on her tour, no less, on stage. It's what he did to me. He infamously stood up on that table while I was employed by a company that he was a part owner of. And I find out how he feels about me, calls me a faux sophisticate because I tweeted that genocide was always wrong. That was my big offense. For some reason, he gets off on trying to publicly humiliate people who simply holds a different viewpoint than him, right? He doesn't know that outside of the Pharisees, deceit and betrayal actually doesn't register as cool to the general public. You don't look cool. Also, get your dirty feet off of the table. So what Ben does is he likes to prep and he likes to put his notes and he likes to plan to embarrass people that are his allies, who think that they're his friends, okay? Take, for example, what he just did to Michael Knowles. I want you to watch this. Ben knows going into a literal spiritual connection there because of that. Like, we take that very seriously. We selected Michael Knowles for a reason. He's a strong and faithful Catholic and he's a good person. So for Ben, when he hears that, when he knows this information, for him to move Michael Knowles to publicly denounce me, to say something about Candace, that would give him a literal high. Like, that's irresistible to him. He needs that. He's just like a little gremlin. He just needs the evil. So watch what he does during a public discussion with Michael. Take a listen.
So if Candace Owens decides to slander the widow of Charlie Kirk, I think that people have a moral duty to say that this is a bad thing, even if they are quote-unquote friends with those people. And I find it an act.
But let's take that further. So obviously one should state one's view and say, you know, Erica's great and the attacks on her are not right.
Well, Michael, I'll just ask you straight up. Is Candace Owens doing something evil by attacking Erica Kirk?
I think that it's wrong to attack Erica Kirk.
No, say the sentence with her name in it.
I'm not going to dance like a puppet for the podcast force.
You don't have to dance like a puppet, but you are dancing pretty quickly. I mean, there's a lot of tap dancing here.
No, I don't think there's any tap dancing.
Even if you aren't
think
interested
it's
in the
totally
podcast wars, the
counterproductive.
podcast
And I
wars
think
are
the
interested
people
in
who are
you.
leading the invective against Candace are her biggest publicists.
He wants him to say the sentence because it has nothing to do with Erica. Erica's just the person he's using. He's not friends with Erica. He's never been friends with Erica, never been friends with Charlie. It's about me. And this is just his tool to try to get Michael to bend the knee publicly. He is losing. The neocons are losing badly. Truth is their kryptonite. They cannot tolerate it, which brings us to Megyn McCain, who apparently fancies herself the police chief of morality, apparently. Since private messages are destroying them in every manner possible, she's going to make a demand that people stop showing them. Here's what she actually wrote on X. She wrote, "Stop sharing dead people's text messages, you absolute psychopaths." Psychopaths. Wow. A diagnosis from a McCain. Megyn McCain. A McCain. Question, how many Muslim kids do you think had to be murdered for her trust fund? Like, across how many countries? Also, across how many countries like Ukraine were people subjected to bloody color revolutions led by her father, literally in the streets, so that she could sit back and deliver lectures on what it means to be a psychopath? I want to be clear. I don't think Megyn is a psychopath. I think she's dumb as rocks. I think she has always been a blubbering idiot who offers nothing. And she is so dumb that she is completely unaware of how universally despised her family is. Megyn McKelly should shut up. She should shut up and enjoy her blood bunny, which is why I decided to answer by sharing another private text message from Charlie Kirk. And here it is. And it's very well said. Megyn McCain is a piece of shit. Yes, it's real. And I actually shortened it. It was it's longer, the exchange. Here's what we said. I guess this is more my response. Megyn McCain is a piece of shit. And I said, just like her father was. And Charlie wrote back and said, disgrace. They are a disgraceful family. A disgraceful family. for the ways in which they have betrayed Americans and allowed for mass murder and bloody wars overseas. So, shh, speak when spoken to, Megyn, okay? Now, since they hate how much we will not allow them to lie, since they're upset with us for not allowing them to turn Charlie in the afterlife into a war hawk, right? A war hawk in the afterlife. We should probably check in on Trump's dumbass and talk about the war that we're currently engaged in, because he launched this war on Zio vibes, right? This was a Zio vibe war. There was actually no strategy in place other than to keep lying and deluding themselves, and something about a red heifer. I think there's some.
So I thought she was going to touch on the deal with Megyn Kelly. We know the global response to Trump. I mean, his numbers are looking pretty rough. What is this? Oh, maybe she's just going to talk about Tucker.
Like, we're talking about Persia. This is like a historical Persia. It was just going to all go down with a couple of cool memes, and people were going to go, yeah, I'm going to sign up for the military today. They can't blame themselves. They can't blame themselves for being crazy.
The basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it, and that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living. And I'm not going to stop doing that, nor should I don't think. I'm also an American. I can talk to anybody. I have no secrets to divulge. So legally, I think the case is ludicrous, and I doubt it'll even become a case. But the main reason they do it is to leak the existence of the investigation, such as it is, to the media, and then humiliate and terrify the subjects of this op. And that's, of course, happened to me repeatedly, many times. There are also people with agendas and grudges and no sense of restraint who are happy to misuse the power they have granted them by our elaborate secrecy laws to hurt fellow Americans for ideological reasons. That is entirely real. That's the story of Russiagate. And it's likely that things like that will begin to happen at greater scale now. So you should just know that going forward.
Yep. And instantly, as soon as you see this video, deranged Zionists started saying they hoped he went to prison. Like I said, they have lost. So now they want people just thrown into the gulags. I mean, don't forget Bill Ackman, who's supposed to be a billionaire on his own merit, which Tucker contends, but he was retweeting when I said people should conscientiously object to this war, because they should. Of course, you should conscientiously object to this war. You should find the legal means to exit. Why would you die for Bibi Netanyahu? That's senseless. And he starts retweeting people who have their profiles in Hebrew, no less, being like, there's actually a federal statute or this law A says that if you say this, then you can go to federal prison. Lock her up. Okay. If they don't die for Israel, lock every American up. Okay. Here's Randy Fine. He tweeted this. It sounds like Tucker Carlson is learning the hard way. And I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse. That is the truest interpretation for them of this verse. Listen up, Christians. You will die for Israel. You will die for Israel. You will support Israel, or we will ruin you. Okay, you will send your sons and your daughters to die. You will literally kill off your families, or we will ruin you. We will destroy you. We'll put you into prison. We don't care about you. In fact, our Talmud, those of us who describe ourselves as Talmudic Jews, kind of tells us that you have the souls of animals, actually. Certainly is a perspective held by people who they view to be messiahs, okay? And that's the vibe. So when we write this verse, when we interpret this verse, even though it's completely inaccurate, it means if you do everything we say, it's a threat. Laura Loomer jumps in and she says, I have created a list, of conservative influence who I believe are taking money from Iran, Russia, and Qatar. I have attached my supporting evidence. As I told the DOJ, Tucker Carlson isn't the only one who is likely violating FARA. All of these traitors deserve jail time. Yeah, we're still waiting for the list. She keeps alluding to it. But
she actually got 2 million views on that stupid post. Because why are we listening to Laura Loomer? I mean, they said that she's been deemed mentally unfit to possess a weapon. She can't even get a gun permit.
She never publishes. Why do you have to give it to the DOJ? Why don't you just publish on X? Doesn't change anything. If you got proof that people are taking money from Qatar and taking money from Iran and taking, which by the way, that would be Israel that does that the whole time. Just publish it. Don't be coy. You're not known to be coy, Larry. Come right out and publish the list. On the sensible side of the pond are people like Alex Stein who tweeted this. America is totally compromised by foreign actors if Tucker Carlson gets arrested before anybody on the Epstein list. Yeah, well, that sounds absurd, but that is probably a likely conclusion, honestly, is that it is more likely Tucker Carlson will be arrested than anybody on the Epstein list because this is Epstein's revenge, right? This is the class that protected Epstein, protected people who were harming kids, lied to us, gaslit us. This is like their final gasp. They're basically like, we're going to attack everybody who, for some reason, is just against pedophilia and wants this Epstein list. We're going to start a war in Iran. People who are asking questions about Charlie Kirk. Nothing we've said makes any sense. And this hypnosis of us having people repeat that it was Tyler Robinson, it doesn't seem to be working. So we're just going to go start another war for BB and just murder another generation of Goyim. I say no, Goyim, mark yourselves safe. All right, understand what is happening. Plug out of this system. I have absolutely zero respect for our commander-in-chief. He is serving Israel. He is not serving American interests at all. I don't even know if he comprehends. We have our own oil. Oh, it gets a little bigger than that, buddy. It's a little bigger than that. Okay? This has like global implications, my friend. Iran will be empowered by this. People will just go direct. You've got bases all over. You see what's happening in Iraq? It doesn't matter if you've just got oil in Israel. Like that's a very childish way of looking at things. Can I survive without their oil? Okay. What about everywhere else in the world? Does it impact all of your relationships worldwide? Does it impact like everything that you've been pouring our money to in the Middle East, Iraq? No, but we've got our own oil, and it's just going to be super easy for us to replace it as we're sending barrels of oil. Extend those prayers to Tucker and Megyn Kelly. I don't know why they have been so obsessed and so terrible. Like I said, she's was an obvious ally. Richardson Kuntz writes, thank God that you kept all the messages between you and Charlie. Keep speaking your truth, Candace. It shall set you free. Christ is king. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Is this where... I think this is Nick responding to this clip.
Edition of our greatest peacetime/wartime. You will remember as the isolationists of the 1930s. Shame on you, woke right neo-fascists.
So we're all going to be remembered that way if we don't agree with Mark Levin. No, with the same thing though, with the war with Iran.
The way Mark Levin talks about this country, he should be deported. Not because you're Jewish, not because you're fat, not because you're gay, not because you're a pussy. Mark Levin should be deported because of the way he talks about this country. Where does he get off? The way he says, it's only off the table if we say so. Who the fuck do you think you are? You whiny, grating, odious, disgusting, fat piece of shit traitor. Where do you get off? Damn you. And I apologize for that. As a Christian, we shouldn't curse people, but seriously, damn you. How dare you say that? This is the United States of America. He says, little Adolf, who were his ancestors? You know, my ancestors were Joe Cairo. Okay. When my ancestors got here, they kissed the ground when they got off the fucking boat. And they served in the military and they built this city. They built Chicago. And they love this country. They always have. They're all patriots. They love our country's God, Jesus Christ. They love this country. Who the fuck are you? And why are you here? You love Israel so much. It's not purely about Israel or the Jews. Why are you still here, fatso? Why are you and Randy Fine still here? Need more money, you fucking pissant? Need more money? Need more Americans to bleed for your wars? Need more money to go and kill children? More bullets to shoot innocent people in the back of the head, you fucking coward? And then they try to gaslight us into thinking we're evil. We're not evil. There's a difference. We're self-righteous. This is not anger. This is not evil. This is righteous indignation. This is moral clarity. This is the courage of our convictions. This is righteous indignation of a righteous people. These are the just and reasonable demands of a righteous people. We want our independence. We want our sovereignty. We want a nation under God, the one that we were promised. And we're done being bossed around and abused and insulted and humiliated by these sick people that hate us. Sick people that say we're going to kill 2 million people in Gaza. These sick, arrogant people that have contempt and disdain for the people that they want to exploit for their own interests. That's wrong. That attitude, those ideas, that mindset is wrong. You're wrong for having it, and you should have no influence and no power over us.
That was heartfelt. Now let's see what Megyn actually says about, because I noticed Candace did not mention, which I'm surprised, she didn't mention the tweet or whatever you call it, the post on Truth Social that Trump made about Mark Levin being attacked.
And that's Mark Levin. So since October of this year, he has been coming for me relentlessly. I mean, relentlessly, in the most vile and disgusting personal terms possible. I mean, this is like a 70-year-old man. He's in his like mid to late 60s or 70. Senior citizen with his show on Fox News on the weekend. He never made it in the prime time. You spend 5 minutes watching his show, you'll see why. He was not primetime material. We used to laugh at him. Very small audience for that. I mean, very, very small. But that's not my problem. It's Fox's and Levin's. Well, once again, he was at it over the weekend. And they don't always get, under my radar, but this one did. And I finally had it. And I went back and looked. Mark Levin has tweeted about me at least 111 times just over the past few months. 111. In total, I've said something about him like a handful, 5 or 6 times. I've risen up here or there to say, would you stop? In the beginning, I said, please stop. You're going to get someone killed. I was talking about Tucker because he was so nasty.
What
I was calling him.
I don't know what's wrong with the sound.
I'm an anti-Semite, neo-Nazi. Me too. Grifter. Time when Charlie was assassinated, I begged him, just please stop. Stop. But his only issue is Israel. So if you're not pro-war on Israel's behalf, or if you asked any questions about Israel and Charlie's feelings about it, you were a neo-Nazi that needed to be destroyed. So most of the time I have ignored those 111 personal attacks on me. But let me just tell you, he's called me the queen of the Klan, Grandma Groiper, Fuentes group, which believes that the Holocaust didn't happen, and made jokes about Jews in ovens being like cookies, as if that's something I would support. It's this same group of people who throw around that criticism. That took a mild comment I made about Nick Fuentes and why people are attracted to him, why he's gaining purchase with some by saying he's an effective communicator, and eliminated all the parts where I said, obviously, we are not talking about his comments on race or Jews or women, or none of that could ever be excused, which I made clear. But my critics took that other piece of the clip and circulated it like I was part of his Groyper unit. I mean, it's just so dark what's happening. And I don't bring all of this on the show because it's like, I just want to do the news for you. I don't think you want to get caught up in my own or anybody else's Twitter drama. So I try to be very mindful of that and respectful of you and your time. I bring it up now only because it's getting to a fever pitch here with the threatened prosecution now of Tucker Carlson and the president now weighing in on the Mark Levin feud with yours truly, which I'm about to get to. So yeah, I'm a Klan member. I'm a neo-Nazi. I'm a grifter. I'm an anti-Semite. I'm reading here. I'm quoting from Mark Levin. I'm evil. I'm a narcissistic lunatic, bottom feeder, sicker, a disgusting fraud, hateful propagandist, low-life, sleazy, mentally unhinged lunatic, pathetic, flailing, disgraced. I mean, I could keep going. And I've said nothing. Truly, I mean, like one tweet here or there at most, just to like occasionally like a pitcher at the mound, give him a brush back. Like, would you just settle down? Like, go figure out where the fight really is. And the reason he's coming for me is because I do have an audience, and he's very, very angry about that fact. Very fucking angry about that fact. So the attacks escalate. And I don't, I don't bring them all in front of you guys. I don't bring the security threats that rise in front of you guys. It's like, trust me, it's gotten very, very ugly for me in that way. And we're dealing with that. But finally, I had enough. And I tweeted at Mark Levin this weekend something to the effect of, I'm very sorry about his micro penis, which I really enjoyed. I mean, I thankfully have never had to look at it firsthand, but you can just tell. No one's that angry and misogynistic, because there's been lots of misogyny in his tweets about me, like all the time. Who doesn't have that problem? And really, we should be feeling sorry for Mark Levin. We should be comforting him, because that's got to be really tough. You got to go out on the air and like try to act like you're a big swinging. And as you know, the only people who act like they have the big swinging are the ones that don't. So he's really revealed it to me against my wishes and consent, to be honest. But there it was for me to see, obviously. And so I called him out on it. And guess what? He didn't like his new nickname. Rather than dealing with it like a man by making a joke about it, whatever, ignoring it, rushing me back from the plate, he actually ran to the President of the United States. He ran to Donald Trump and had Trump send out a nice tweet about him last night, overnight. And it was a ridiculous tweet for which now the president is getting blowback because he does not have his finger on the pulse of where his party is right now, which is very unusual for Trump. This is very strange. The tweet, it's very strange that as soon as you punch them back, and look, I'm all for taking the high road, and I did try. But after 111 tweets, increasing the security profile in my own life and attacking me in the most vile terms, I think anybody could see that I was entitled to one below the belt punch, right? When they go low, we go micro penis. That's the way it's going to be, at least insofar as that bully is concerned. And sure enough, he didn't know what to do. He went crying to the president, who's running a war right now, not to mention the country. It's crazy that this happened. And Trump sent out a truth late last night. I'll read to you in part, calling Mark Levin a truly great American patriot. He's somewhat under siege by other people with far less intellect, capability, and love for our country. Mark is tough, strong, and brilliant. I mean, if he's so tough, Mr. President, query why you're fighting his battle. That's why they call him the Great One. Sean Hannity realized it. He was special. Mark's a true conservative and has intellect. He's far smarter than those who criticize him. Above all, he's a man of great wisdom and common sense.
It is junior high rhetoric, and that's what makes it even more bizarre. Like, can you imagine if you knew the president? Who the hell goes running to the president?
Remember, they are jealous and angry human beings whose sway is much less than the public understands and will, now that they know where I stand, rapidly diminish. This is Trump. He firmly believes that if he criticizes you, meaning me, Tucker, or anybody, that we will have no more audience left. I mean, I have 10 years to show that's not true. Now, yet, are there some who will say, okay, the president's mad at you, I'm out? I guess so, but I feel like those people left me long ago because nobody ever thought I was a Trump sycophant. Fan, yes. Sycophant, no. And, we've sparred many, many times. Again, he's not naming me, but.
Do y'all remember when Megyn Kelly worked at Fox? I think it was Fox, and they were doing the debate when Trump first ran the first time, and she asked him about calling women fat slobs, and he said, only Rosie O'Donnell.
I think it's fair to say this is about me, it's about Tucker, and it's about some of Mark's critics on the right. Let's see. Those that speak ill of Mark will quickly fall by the wayside. So if you speak ill of Mark Levin, you will quickly fall by the wayside, as do people whose ideas, policies, and footings are not sound. They're not MAGA. I am. And MAGA includes not allowing Iran, blah, 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 to have a nuclear weapon. So what he's saying is if you criticize Mark Levin, he says, those who speak ill of Mark will quickly fall by the wayside. They are not MAGA. So you cannot be part of the MAGA movement if you speak ill of Mark Levin. That's where we are. That doesn't hurt me at all. I've not been part of the MAGA movement again.
So can you imagine you've got people like Laura Loomer and Mark Levin dictating to Trump, like who he should talk to, who he shouldn't.
How many words was that? Was that 1,000 words? Literally glazing.
So obviously this is Nick. It says, Nick Fuentes says Trump's rabid defense of Mark Levin shows exactly who's boss.
How many words was that? Was that 1,000 words? Literally glazing and doing tricks on it, doing somersaults and backflips and handstands on top of Mark Levin. While we are in a war with Iran, after we shut down mass deportations and we opened up H-1A visas for migrant farm workers. Are you winning yet? Bored with the winning? Take the date, March 17, 2026. This is what it means to be MAGA. If you are not on board with Mark Levin, if you are not on board with a war with Iran, if you don't think that Mark Levin's only care in the world is America rather than Israel, well, you're not part of the MAGA movement. And I will add, because there's something else here. So this is obviously just a humiliation ritual at this point, and I think that gets overused. These days, everything's a humiliation ritual, and maybe everything is. Lately it feels that way, doesn't it? But if there ever was a ritualistic humiliation, this would be it. President Trump of the MAGA America First movement, not only giving Israel everything they want, but then also caping for them on Twitter, caping for them on Truth Social, defending them like this. Literal full-throat, deep-throated defense of Mark. He
just didn't bring them over to X and post them, to be honest.
He's a genius. He's so brave. He only cares about America. He's so amazing. He's different. He's not like the others. If there ever was a ritualistic humiliation, this would be it. And it's obviously a betrayal of everything that he ran on. And why is that? Because Mark Levin is a neocon. Mark Levin is a Jew first, Israel first neocon. He's not a Christian. He doesn't have any love in his heart. He's not an American. He's not an American patriot. He doesn't care about America. He is a Jew. He is a Jewish partisan. He only cares about the state of world Jewry. He only cares about his fellow Jews, and he only cares about Israel. And to that end, he has infiltrated America. He is blended in. He pretends to be a white person, pretends to be a white rock-ribbed conservative, constitutionalist, whatever. It is a great subversion to trick the goyim, trick white people into dying and fighting and giving our money and our efforts in defense of Israel. That's what this is. And Trumpism was supposed to be a repudiation of all of that. That's what matters to other countries like Israel. We have to put America first. And now the only people left in the camp, in the MAGA world, it's Loomer, Randy Fine, Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin. And not only are those the only people left, but now they are jealously guarding Mar-a-Lago. No one else is allowed in unless you defer to Mark Levin. Now it's not like you got to be comfortable in the coalition. Because that is, I think, how people used to think about it is, well, we, the white people or the Catholics or the Christians or the conservatives, or people thought that, maybe we who are not in love with Loomer and Levin and Randy Fine, maybe we could share the big tent with them. Maybe they're bringing something to the table. Maybe they're part of a coalition, and maybe it's strange bedfellows, and maybe there's some friction at times, but we don't have to be best good friends, and we're all in favor of Trump, and Trump is in favor of MAGA. I think that's what a lot of people thought. Now it's been made clear. No, that is not how this works at all.
Well, Trump said, first Jewish president, or Trump didn't say it, right? Mark Levin said, Trump is our first Jewish president, and Trump said, Europe.
It's not going to be no partnership of equals, nothing close to it. Mark Levin is not your peer. He is your boss. If you are MAGA, and I don't know who is still MAGA, if you are MAGA, Mark Levin and Laura Loomer and Randy Fine and Miriam Adelson and Larry Fink and Ronald Lauder, they are not your peers. They are not your colleagues. They are not your allies. They are not your partners. They are your boss. They are in charge. And you have to defer to them. And if you don't, you will be fired. You will be ostracized. You're not MAGA. Trump just said so. The dear leader, undying loyalty to Trump is my only principle. It's all about Trumpism, unironically loyal to Trump alone. Well, from the horse's mouth, Trump has said Mark Levin is the boss. Laura Loomer, Larry Loomer is the boss. Beneath them, under them, every day. That is obviously the message. All these people.
Can you imagine? How embarrassing. So I wanted to see if there was anything new on Tucker and this deal with the CIA spying on him. I'm just going to watch a second of Megyn. I think I've already seen it. It's like 11 minutes.
So now Tucker comes
I
out
don't
and
want to
says,
watch the
and
whole
trust me when
thing.
I tell you he's got very good sources inside the government, that he's been told this.
I think that's what people are scared of, right? That he's got good.
Tucker speaking to people inside of Iran in the days prior to Trump launching the attack, which led the left to go into some bizarre tizzy of a frenzied meltdown over the weekend, saying, oh, Trump, when he had Tucker to the White House, was working an op. He knew Tucker was a double agent, and he was giving him false information so that Tucker would go back to his, I guess, Iranian handlers, give them bad info about us not getting ready to attack them so that they put their guard down and Trump could drop the bombs, like Trump could send in the military. This is so crazy. Now, Axios comes out, Mark Caputo, and says, okay, none of that is true. And he also says it's not true that the CIA is investigating Tucker or has referred Tucker for criminal investigation at the DOJ. Mark Caputo making clear there was no op. It was a friendly meeting between Trump and Tucker. They disagreed. Trump heard him out, parted friends. And by the way, as you know, he had Tucker back to the White House a couple more times where they talked about it at length and more. The same as Charlie.
I definitely believe that. I believe that, yeah, pretty much the whole government. And if you live in a place like Florida where you get tickets instead of like the cop pulling you over, you get tickets delivered in the mail because you ran a red light, and they're recording everything. They can track you from the time that you enter Florida by your tag on your car. I think a lot of states do that now. So we're already under a lot of surveillance. Yes, I agree.
Tried to talk Trump out of bombing Iran back in June. The president will listen to his critics, and then he'll make his decision, and then the critics will say what they're going to say. like me, like Tucker, like Charlie did, we're not president. He's got the big job. He'll make the calls that matter. And then, the chattering class, of which I am a part, are entitled to our opinions and feelings on it. We speak for millions of people who have these same feelings, and many people who disagree with us enjoy being subjected to a differing POV. So that's all landing as it should. But threatening a journalist like Tucker with prosecution under the Foreign Agent Registration Act because he apparently called sources inside of Iran prior to the war starting, that's outrageous. That's going to be a very, very long shot. And I have a really difficult time believing that Pam Bondi will do such a thing. Whether it's been I believe CIA referred him. I actually do. And I believe they investigated him. The intel community, going back to when Roger Ailes was running Fox, and I spent a lot of time in his office, as you know from.
I remember when Nick Fuentes said his dad worked for the CIA, and Tucker acted like he didn't know, and then later admitted that after Nick saying that, he found out it was true. Like Nick knew before Tucker knew. I don't know.
The vast majority of it was spent talking politics and news. There were a couple times where he chased me around the desk. Okay, day in the life at Fox News. Anyway, he told me stories about the CIA that would make your eyes roll back into your head. I mean, it horrifying. About executions and nonstop harassment, spying, and investigating of American citizens. And Tucker was making the same allegation this weekend. Look, I don't have these same sources. I don't know any of this stuff firsthand. But you asked me, is it difficult for me to believe that the CIA actually is investigating Tucker and trying to make life difficult for him? I say I have every reason to believe that, but I don't believe Pam Bondi would charge Tucker. I just don't. I don't believe that. No. And I don't think Trump would charge Tucker. I think Trump is mad.
I don't believe Pam Bondi would charge Tucker either, because we haven't really seen Pam Bondi charge much of anybody, so why start now? I mean, not that I think Tucker did anything, but I'm just saying, since when is she big on, yeah, I know Tucker, the frozen vegetable empire. Yeah, it's like, that's, what, the stepmom or something like that. Yeah, that's plenty of money. He has plenty of money, but his dad, I don't know. I'm just saying, how would Nick know that your dad worked for the CIA before you did? That was after Tucker's dad died, as far as I know. I don't know. That's weird.
At any of us who don't support anything he does. That's how he's built. We all know that. That doesn't mean he would have Tucker Carlson charged. That's ridiculous. That just can't. It's not going to happen. That's my view. If it does happen.
So wait, Clarence Birdseye. So is that correct? Birdseye? I mean, I thought it was like Swanson and be under the same umbrella. I don't know. So Tucker won't be going hungry.
It's going to be an earth-shattering moment, and it's going to be a fundamental dividing line that will change this country forever. It'll change this country forever. Many of us will rise up extremely loudly and unmercifully if that happens. Like, because of one's opposition to war, you get thrown in jail. That's just not going to happen here. All right? And don't tell me this is like Don Lemon, because it's not. Tucker did not join a mob harassing churchgoers, which violates the explicit letter of the law, and it violates the Constitution. This is not that. This is, according to Tucker anyway, he made a couple of phone calls to Iran in advance of the war to figure out what was happening as a journalist, as countless journalists have. And what's really galling is the same crowd that's frothing at the mouth to see Tucker behind bars is the same crowd that's cheering on Lindsey Graham in his admission that he continuously traveled over to Israel and met with Bibi Netanyahu, received foreign intelligence from Bibi that he used on Trump, Lindsey, and also gave Netanyahu information on how to manipulate the U.S. president. But
Now, Megyn, there you go. Don't be antiseptic.
Is he going to get charged? under Farah? Is that okay? Like, I mean, he actually was working with a foreign government on how to manipulate the sitting US president. Okay, who is he doing that on behalf of? Israel. He was doing that on behalf of Israel. He was talking with the prime minister of Israel, giving him information about our president in order to use against the president, in order to manipulate the president into what Israel and Lindsey Graham thought was the proper outcome. So these same folks who are outraged that Tucker might have called a source or two in Iran. By the way, we don't know what the source was. We don't know what was said. But Tucker's suggesting and saying explicitly that it was as part of his reporting duties to figure out what was happening there in a country we were about to go to war with. They have nothing to say about the Lindsey Grahams of the world, et cetera. And the nerve, we've got now the former deputy mayor of Jerusalem, Fleur Hassan Nahum, tweeting out Tucker Carlson should be arrested and tried for treason. You know what the penalty is for treason? It's death. This is crazy. So this woman thinks that he should be arrested and tried for treason. That's what she wants to see happen. Now here's this Republican from Ohio named Max Miller, who called for Tucker to be prosecuted. Everyone has always known Tucker's in love with himself and happy to sell falsehoods for attention. Tucker's actually one of the most self-deprecating, hard on himself people I know. The left excels at this. When Tucker fully joined them, it was just sad. Now, treason. Again, using the word treason. If Tucker really worked with Iran against America's interests, he's a traitor and should be prosecuted.
What's treason to me would be like, you know, I keep bringing it up, but Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, they said that he was over there trying to, he was negotiating on behalf of America. Like, who the hell is he? I don't understand. He's got more interest in Israel and in the quote-unquote rebuilding of Gaza. He's on the Gaza Peace Board too, right? I mean, that to me would be closer to some type of illegal interference than a podcaster or a journalist setting up an interview, even if it was with the head of Iran, whoever that is now. I don't know. Even if it was now, you know, with the head of Iran. I don't understand what they're talking about.
This is like getting scary. And then there is the vile Laura Loomer, who posts on X, I've created a list of conservative influencers who I believe are taking money from Iran, Russia, and Qatar. As I told the DOJ, so this is her saying she's contacted the DOJ, Tucker Carlson isn't the only person who is likely violating FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. All these traitors deserve jail time. Traitor, again. Okay.
Everybody should remember that, especially conservatives, Republicans, MAGA, whatever you want to call yourself. Everybody should remember that shit coming from Laura Loomer every time that she says Tucker Carlson, Megyn, Candace, any of these people that question the war or question Israel's involvement with our politics and our government in America. I mean, they've really got to stop and think of who's causing a fracture. You know, who is it? Because a lot of these same Zionist people were Democrats. They were never Trumpers. I mean, until they needed him and they saw that Biden and a lot of the Democrats weren't willing to go back into war in the Middle East. And so now here we are. Now we've got Trump looking like a Jewish puppet, and we've got people that were supposed to be MAGA, supposed to be conservative, supposed to be Republican, and they're reporting other conservatives to the DOJ for treason? Like, what the hell's really going on?
They can't silence us all. Like, this is so absurd. I can guarantee you, I've certainly never taken a single dime from many of these folks. In fact, there was a pro-Israeli group that wanted to sponsor my tour, and they're fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with them. I appreciated the interest. But what they wanted in exchange was for me to put one of their top representatives on stage and to sort of give her the floor and let her do her pitches for whatever it was that was pro-Israeli. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not selling my stage for an agenda. It's one thing to, why refi, they were great. They can pitch you on refinancing with them and you can decide to or not. But this is an entirely different thing. I don't take a dime from anybody for it. So good luck with that, Laura. Good luck. We're not all foreign agents. Intimidation is outrageous. It's really outrageous. Dave Smith, who's been very critical of Trump and of this war, he posted the following on X. Obviously, this administration has already destroyed the coalition that won Trump the popular vote in every swing state in 2024. But imagine, and I don't think this will happen, he wrote, that they put up 0 deep state arrests, that they covered up the Epstein scandal, and launched a war for Israel against Iran, and then prosecuted Tucker Carlson for trying to get Trump to keep his campaign promises. If you wanted to destroy this country, this would be the best course of action. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But I mean, truly, imagine that no one goes down for the entire Epstein controversy or the deep state stuff that we spent most of the summer talking about. The charges against Tish James have not been refiled. James Comey, he gets away with it. John Brennan, he gets away with it. Barack Obama gets away with it. All the stuff we covered in July when those memos started to come out that had been classified, right? Everyone gets away with it, but Tucker Carlson gets prosecuted for a phone call with Iran. True, if you wanted to destroy the country, you wouldn't behave differently. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, we should hope not. And yes, it's true that the push against Zionism is coming, and not under Trump. That's true. But I think that the push might. I mean, I don't know if Trump's going to make it through. We don't see impeachments. We see him try to impeach Trump. We've seen him try, to impeach Clinton. These things, they don't ever bring anybody down from power. And I don't know that it would be any different with Vance right now. So I don't know. Maybe it won't. Maybe he'll make it through this 4 years. But I definitely think that it's going to be a huge factor in the midterms. And anybody that thinks otherwise would be crazy. And a huge factor when it comes to the next presidential race, for sure. And could you imagine being put on Laura Loomer's list? Crazy ass Laura Loomer puts you on a list and sends it to the DOJ.
The question now is, what are the people going to do? And this is why in 2028, they're taking names, we're taking names too. Hey, newsflash, Mark Levin. They're taking names. Yeah, I'm taking names too. It's all going in the Epstein Files. We are paying very close attention to everybody that is with Israel first and everybody that is with America first. And I promise you, in 2028, we will be there too. And everybody that sides with Israel first, everybody that sides with Mark Levin, everybody that's engaging in cancel culture at their behest, we're going to show up for them too. We're going to show up at their events and we are going to boo them. We're going to show up to every one of their meet and greets and we're going to grill and interrogate them peacefully and politically. We're going to tell people not to vote for them. We will be there too. This is politics. You can have all the money and all the position. You can have CBS and you can have TikTok, but you don't have the truth. You don't have America. You don't own me and you don't own us. And we vote. Fortunately, the money doesn't vote. The people vote. And if the politicians want to get elected, they're going to need our votes. And if your money doesn't buy the votes, well, maybe they won't get elected. That's why I play hardball. That's why I tell people, no, we're not going to hold our nose and vote for whatever. We're not going to hold our nose and vote for whatever the GOP serves up. We will not vote for anybody that is pro-Israel. We will not vote for anybody that continues to support this. We will not vote for anybody that engages in cancel culture on behalf of Levin and the Israel First lobby. We won't go for it. So you're going to have to work that out. Levin is pushing on one side, I'm pushing on the other side, and I'm stronger than you, old man. I'm strong. You might be richer, you might have more money, but I'm stronger than you. That's why you're saying my name at the Republican Jewish Coalition. So bring it on, old man. Bring it on. I'll see you in Iowa, you fat piece of shit. I'll see you, Randy Fine. I'll see Mark Levin in Iowa. Politically, bring it on. We'll see you there. And we'll see who the politicians choose. We'll see who the Republicans choose. Your money and your fucking bullshit are our votes and the truth and America. And we'll see what the decision is.
Well, I guess we will see. It'd be nice to think that we could vote our way out of it. I don't know. I don't know. This is the day. I don't know about getting into a Candace episode. They get serious, don't they? I mean, she goes down some real rabbit holes. I don't know if I could think that hard. Damn, Nick's still alive? No way.
No.
John Boy Smoke sent $20.
Sounds stupid as fuck.
I'm just in time for super chats. How bizarre. I've got to watch a minute of these.
It's called Dick and Balls Apparel. It's called Imperium.
Maybe I shouldn't.
What was throbbing. I can't say that, but like, come on now. It's called Imperium, you know, like the Roman Empire. Oh, sick, bro. What is it? Is it like a fasces? Is it like an eagle holding a flag
John Boy
on a t-shirt?
Oh, no.
Out of protest. What is
I just got to see what he was talking about. I can imagine. I love these intros.
The most that you have seen so far is it appears that some administration officials are quietly stepping away or distancing themselves. I think of J. This weekend said maybe it's best to bring it to an end. But this is the first government official to publicly and officially resign out of protest.
Oh, yeah, he's talking about Kent. Yeah. Joe Kent. So if he's on the head, if he's like the head of the anti-terrorism, you would think that the head of the anti-terrorism commission or whatever this thing is would have decent intel about whether or not Iran was an imminent threat to us, whether, they would just have the intel. So wouldn't he be the one we would need to listen to? Apparently not.
Protest. What is even more notable, however, aside from the resignation and the break with the president, is what Joe Kent actually wrote in the letter. And Joe Kent very explicitly and specifically says that he is leaving his role because it was actually Israel and its lobby in the United States which has drawn the United States into the war. And so that makes this especially notable. Not only is this dissent, and you could call it a conscientious objection to the Trump administration via resignation, but it is the explicit and specific acknowledgement that we were brought to war by a foreign country, namely Israel, which is why I think this is very significant. And not just for the course of the war, but obviously also for the machinations of the White House, the GOP, and the discourse surrounding the war in the country. So it's a very big deal. And I saw this on Twitter today, and actually it surprised me because in the past, Joe Kent has publicly criticized me for my critique of Israel. And not only has he critiqued me for my position on Israel, but he also critiqued his opponent, his Democratic opponent in both congressional elections in 22 and 24 for not supporting Israel. Now, all of a sudden, here in 2026, he seems to have changed his mind. Or did he? He has either had an epiphany, or perhaps the situation has become so dire and extreme that he had to say something if he was quiet about the issue before. Or there's something else going on. or there's something more cynical and subtle and secretive happening, which we can speculate about, but we can't really know for sure. But it is interesting. So Joe Kent resigns, blames the war on Israel. Trump throws him under the bus immediately. And again, this stands in stark contrast with Kent's previous record on the issue. So what do we make about all of this? What are we to make of it? We'll talk all about it tonight. We're going to analyze it. And I think I may be the only one that can speak with any kind of objectivity about Joe Kent, because I'm somebody that Joe Kent has actually condemned over this issue. I disagreed with him very publicly, and this had consequences for my career. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Not going to rehash the entire episode, but I'm sure a lot of you know some already. And also because this is the issue that Joe Kent has now resigned over. And as you know, I am one of the pioneers on the critique of the Israel lobby. So maybe I'm specially suited to talk about this one. But we're going to talk all about that. We'll get into it. We're also going to talk tonight about the situation with Tucker Carlson. Related and very interesting. We didn't get a chance to cover this last night, but I did want to get into it this week. And this one, I don't even know what to make of this at all. But over the weekend, Tucker Carlson, I'm sure you've seen.
Well, when you think about it, since Nick was banned and he had his from all the platforms and debanked, and he's definitely been down the road with the government, let's say, spying on him. So I would say he's a good one for this whole conversation, yeah, for both sides.
Seen text messages with contacts inside of Iran. We don't know who those people are or the contents of the messages or what that's even all about. But Tucker claims that in the lead up to the war with Iran, U.S. intelligence was intercepting his text messages, and they believe, based on what they have seen, that Tucker is in violation of FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, that he is effectively lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, in this case Iran, without making the proper disclosures, without reporting it to the proper bodies in the U.S. government. And so Tucker says somehow he has learned this information and that the CIA is preparing a report for the Justice Department, and that will then inform a criminal referral, that the CIA is making a referral to the DOJ, and the DOJ will then prosecute Tucker for the text messages. He says this is going to happen to him very soon, although he's not worried. Now, again, just like with must be in contact with the Iranian government. If the CIA is spying on him, the CIA only operates outside the U.S. border. They only operate internationally. They cannot operate, at least on paper, domestically. So if they're intercepting the communications, it is because Tucker is sending text messages to a foreign country. What's more, if they are referring him to the DOJ for a criminal prosecution under FARA, then that would suggest that he's not in contact with just anybody in the Iranian country, but the Iranian government itself. And then that begs the question, what is a podcaster doing talking to the government of Iran as the U.S. prepares to go to war with Iran? It's an interesting question. Do those communications exist? What's in them? What is he saying to them? It's hard to know what to make of that, because on the one hand, you would like to say this is an obvious crackdown on free speech. And what's more, it's an obvious crackdown on a prominent anti-war voice, and specifically an anti-Israel war voice. So my first gut reaction is, well, they're really coming after everybody now. They went after Charlie Kirk, perhaps. Now they're coming after Tucker Carlson.
Oh, wait a minute. Did he just say they went after Charlie Kirk? I think that's the first time that I've ever heard Nick acknowledge that he felt like, other than maybe some donors, that'd be anybody. Anybody that's dealing with donors has some backlash from them. That's the first time I've ever heard Nick acknowledge that maybe Charlie was under any type of attack.
Who's next? Me? That was my first thought. Then my second thought is, wait a second. Is this not the mother of all self-reports? Are you not just admitting that you're talking to the Iranian government? Because you could say something to the effect of, first they came for the Tuckers, and I said nothing because I never talked to the government in Tehran. Then they came for... But I never talked to the government of Iran, and I never talked to the government of Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Israel or any of these countries for that matter. Why is it that Tucker always seems to be doing that? I never talked to the government of Argentina, of Spain, of Hungary, of Russia, of Serbia, of Qatar, of Saudi Arabia, of Iran, of Israel. But Tucker seems to be talking to all these governments. And one has to wonder, what is that? You know, as Tucker would say, to borrow a phrase, so what is that? What exactly is going on there? Why is this podcaster, why is this glorified podcaster talking to all these foreign governments? And what exactly is he saying? And what is going on there? Why would that be happening? I would love to rush to his defense and say, this is a crackdown on anti-war sentiment. But you know what? If he was talking to the government of Iran, that is a little bit suspicious. And if the government came for me, you know what I would say? I would say, I'm not talking to the government of Iran. You know? He comes out and says, well, I'm not being paid by Iran, but I am talking to them because I'm an American. And it's like, okay, but you do realize most Americans are not talking to any foreign government at all. Actually, I think most Americans don't even have a passport. Most Americans haven't even been to Canada or Mexico. And you're talking to like every G20 says Mohammed bin Zayed is the wisest man in the world. And I know that because I'm best friends with him. And you go, so what again does that have to do with being an American? And we can all say we can defend the war in Iran without talking to the government in Iran. I don't really know what that is. It's very strange to me. And I'm not condemning him, by the way. I am very suspicious of the criminal referral, but I also do wonder, is that foreign influence? Because it's a fine line. Here I am in Chicago, in America, and I don't talk to any foreign government. And as an American, I tell other Americans not to support the war. If you're flying to and from the Persian Gulf all the time, if you're in the Arabian Peninsula, 6 months out of the year, and you're making the rounds, hanging out with Mohammed bin Salman, Mohammed bin Zayed, you're in Iran, you're in Serbia, you're in Russia, you're in Argentina, at that point, you kind of say, okay, so this isn't normal. Something is not right there. I don't know who he is or what he is, but he's not what he says he is. There's sort of the rest of us, hey man, I just like fishing and hunting. Me, I'm simple. I just like to go in a sauna and play with my dogs and have sex with my wife, and I like nicotine. And I just like hunting and fishing. And it's like, really? So then what are you doing in Saudi Arabia all the time? Like, what are you doing in Qatar all the time? You doing a lot of hunting and fishing over there? Like, what the fuck is that? So at once, hey, I just like my dogs and I'm not rich. I drive an old truck. I drive an old stick shift truck. I don't want any electronics in my car. Really? Because you fly in a private jet to Saudi Arabia all the time and hang out with the royal family. So one of these things is not like the other. You think Duck Dynasty's doing that? I don't think so. Anyway, so we'll get into that. That's going to be our show. That'll be our news. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash a like.
I bet all the best clips of his show are already on X, actually. I'm just guessing. Happened again. Oh no, look at this. What is this? William Kelso Flournoy? Flournoy. I don't know. A man pretending to be a woman was arrested in Washington state after he allegedly raped an infant girl. Yeah, I told you, this is from tonight, same tie. So he does talk about Laura Loomer, which, as we know, that's who supposedly came up with this list to turn into the DOJ of all the traitors.
It's not because nobody has that kind of influence. Laura Loomer has it, and she's an idiot. She's literally, and she's fucking crazy. She has emotional breakdowns constantly in public, ugly crying, screaming, and yelling. And the president calls her, not you, not Mike Cernovich, not Jack Posobiec, not Andrew Torba, not any of these guys that were shucking and jiving and tap dancing and cooning for Trump, unpaid. Well, as far as we know, you don't. It's not because nobody has that kind of influence. Laura Loomer has it, and she's an idiot.
I guess 5150 is like being Baker's Act, or, like when they put you under the Baker's Act or something similar. You have a mental breakdown, you're on drugs. This break-in. Israel just bombed a very large residential building full of people in Beirut a few minutes ago. Oh yeah, it is Sunday. Whoa. That's a big building. Well, it was a big building. That's crazy.
About this is a complete break from America First foreign policy. And that is why people signed up. This is why people voted in 2016, 2020, and 2024. There are a lot of people that voted 3 times because of this, because they wanted an end to the endless wars, specifically in the Middle East. Not in Cambodia, not in Congo, not in Pakistan, but in the Middle East. And these Israel-driven wars against Israel's enemies. People voted 3 times because they wanted America broken with that, as he has plunged America into a war of choice, a war of aggression, something that was totally unnecessary. It's not a preemptive strike because it didn't preempt anything. It wasn't in self-defense because we were never attacked. It wasn't about securing a vital American interest because it's hard to parse what interest is outweighed by a regime change war in a mountainous country 3 times the size of Iraq with a population of 90 million. So Joe Kent is correct. You broke your promise. You betrayed America first. Consequently, he's stepping down. And what does Trump say? Well, he was always bad on security. Really? Then why did you appoint him to be the director of counterterrorism and traitor? What does that even mean? He was always bad on security. Okay, so then you should be impeached for treason. Because either every word out of your fat, disgusting mouth is a lie, or you committed treason. You appointed somebody to run the counterterrorism center that, in your own words, you had no confidence in. You thought he was always bad on security, so that's a dereliction of duty. You should be impeached. You plunge us into a war with Iran where there's a high risk of sleeper cells on U.S. soil activating. You bomb Iran all the time. We're in a heightened state of security because of what has been happening. And you appoint someone that's always been bad on security to defend the homeland and run counterterrorism. Okay, then you should be impeached. Or you're a liar, in which case you should also be impeached. It's too much. It's too much at this point.
I mean, that's the truth, and that's the sentiment of a lot of people, even as voters. Oh, I like her. If you don't follow her on X, let's see. I know it's Shipwreck, but at Shipwreck Show, well.
The
Let's
director of the
see.
National Terrorism Center has just resigned. This is Joe Kent. And a little over a year ago, he was elected into this position by Donald Trump. In a statement that he put out on X recently, and I'm going to read it up here because I can't see this because I'm old, okay? It states, after much reflection, I've decided to resign my position as the director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran has posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I support the values and foreign policies that you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, and 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how decisively to apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani, and by defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States and that you should strike now. There was a clear path to swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of the best men. He just said the quiet part out loud. He said the part that we've all been saying since this started out loud. He ends it by saying, I pray that you will reflect upon what you are doing in Iran and who you are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reserve course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further into declining chaos. You hold all the cards. What Trump decides to do after this, because this is big, it's everywhere. He was a big deal. What Trump decides to do after his resignation, if he decides to further pursue this war with Iran and further pursue Israel's agenda, will basically tell you everything that you need to know. And then at that point, we all need to switch course. Well, some of you need to switch course. I think the rest of us jumped off this fucking ship because some of the MAGA are just fucking y'all are insane. Like weird boot kissing, weird, insane. It's getting weird out there. It's also important to note that Joe had lost his wife Shannon over in the Middle East. And he claims that that war also was created and started by Israel. This is a pretty big deal. Good for him. Good for us. Good for him.
I mean, to me, it was a big deal, and I think it should be considered a big deal. But, I mean, the people that want to overlook
The director of the
what's happening in the Middle East, they're going to no matter what. The people that want to overlook the way that Israel behaves badly on a global stage and the way they make us look, they're going to overlook it no matter what. So, I don't know. But I guess I'm going to go ahead and close the stream out. I'll be back online shortly. Just kind of all over the place. At least this one stayed a little more on point than I usually do. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you are still watching, you don't already follow the channel, please do so. Every like and every follow really helps. And that way you'll be notified when I go live. And hopefully we'll see you again that way. So make sure to hit like and follow. And until the next one, y'all, stay blessed.